All right. Well, let me get going here. I've got this recorded, and hopefully we're rocking and rolling here with the stream. I'm just going to do a quick check on that to make sure that we're up and running. Okay, I can see myself, can hear myself. Good. Okay. So, built this today. Wanted to make sure that after, you know, several apps that I've built, uh, created a place where I can kind of tell the story and share where these things are, where they're at in the development phase and the business phase. And what I want to do today is not focus on this too much, but give you guys the opportunity to see behind the scenes a little bit of how these builds are happening. So I'm in Lovable here, and we're going to create something new today. But before I do that, I just wanted to give a heads up here to what my challenge is. So we're going to be taking to the airwaves, so to speak, and building out this um, 52 apps this year. So personal commitment that I've made here, and hopeful that I can meet that goal. I think based on the number of apps that I built last year, that should not be too big of a problem. But I was going to see if I could go live here on LinkedIn while I was getting stuff set up. And I honestly should have clicked on those buttons before I popped in here. But in any event, I've been able to build things pretty quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, I was able to build the application for my own studio in about an hour or two. And it's fully functional. So you can read a little bit more about the project. You can read a little bit about what you'll find in here. And obviously, you can follow along on Twitch because we'll be doing these live sessions. Keep in mind, I set that up kind of hastily today, and I typed in Will with three L's, so it's Will, uh, Melton, Melton, to find me there. But we will continue to get this to the airwaves in more ways. I'd like to get this up on LinkedIn while we're also going live here on Twitch. But you can also follow here inside of the application on our website. So you don't actually have to go into Twitch if you don't want to. So it's all right there. Anyhow, 52 apps this year, already doing well with that. And what I want to do is really start out with ChatGPT because my brain works best there. Today, I'm going to be building an application that helps teams collaborate with large language models and in live meetings. So, one of the problems right now is if you turn on live voice mode or advanced voice mode on ChatGPT in a meeting, every time there's a pause in the meeting, you're going to have somebody um, essentially um, ChatGPT is going to respond to that. It's going to say, "Hey, this is what I think," and that's not really desirable because there's natural pauses, and we don't want ChatGPT to speak every time we stop speaking. It's really designed for one-to-one voice mode. So what I want to build is an application that will sit there, sort of silent in meetings, and listen and transcribe and take in the context. And when asked upon some task or question, it can respond in kind. So I'm going to start talking to ChatGPT right now so that I'm not losing time on the clock because I am working to get as much of this done as possible in the hour that we're together. So I'll go ahead and start. So we are going to be building an application leveraging Lovable, and we want to create this space where teams can come together either virtually or as an in person meeting. They can share their ideas in a live meeting, have AI be present in the meeting and listening and transcribing and gathering context. And only when asked upon should it respond in kind with the response that's necessary, the task that's required, um, at a foundational level, that's the basics of the software. From a business case, however, we want to be able to open up an entire ecosystem of connectivity to other applications so that we can make all of these, um, make the system more actionable. So we can say, hey, go create a task in Asana, and it has the ability to do that because the API has connected those things together. And we've opened up a marketplace of connections to different applications where they can insert their APIs or we can build them up for them using AI. In any case, we definitely want this to be an application that is going to be using authentication. So we want to be able to have people log in. We're going to have administrators. We're going to have managers. We're going to have customers of different kinds. We'll have to establish a pricing mechanism, and we are going to integrate with Stripe. We want this to be professional looking, but modern and um, professional. And I think I said that already, but we want to ultimately just have something that is clean and easy to use, easy to understand. We're going to obviously have to put together the marketing pages for it as well as the back end. We need to come up with a work plan that we can use to be able to do this work. And I want to make sure that we're pretty complete and thorough with that work plan. Ultimately, this application is going to get to a point of maturity and potentially it could be sold. Potentially we'll operate it for a little while, generate some revenue from it. um, I suspect that at some point we may find that some of these features are going to be integrated pretty quickly into mainstream AI applications. So we want to try to find some opportunities to build a moat around that. Before we come up with a full work plan, what I want to do is have you ask me a few questions about this application so that we make sure we cover the bases from both a business perspective and an application architecture perspective. So I find that articulating my ideas with voice to text is the best way for me to get as much context out as possible. And I'm going to do the same thing in responding to these questions. So I'm going to let this respond here, and then I will do a quick chat here on my phone. Okay, so just at a high level, it's looking at the product core. All right. So differentiation and moat, roles and permissions, org structure, integration, marketplace, AI architecture and control, pricing and revenue, compliance, risk and trust, exit and optionality. We're not going to talk about some of these things because they're not part and parcel to the actual production of the application. And I'm also, some of those things can be decided later. So we'll just go ahead and start answering these questions. V1 can be focused on in-person meetings, I think, because one of the key goals of this is to improve collaboration, and the best collaboration happens in person. So I want it to mostly be just a computer that can sit in a room and listen and respond. Maybe it could be a phone, maybe it can be a computer. As far as AI participation goes, we want to use an explicit trigger. So we'll come up with a custom name. Each team can come up with a name for their own assistant. We might change that at some point for marketing purposes so that the assistant's kind of known by a particular name, but for the time being, we'll do that just to ensure, at least if somebody on the team has a name that is similar to the name that we give this thing, it's going to be not confusing and they can work around that. AI could work proactively but I think that what we would want to do is create some toggles inside of the interface where the users have the ability to turn that on and off, either per meeting or perhaps as a per account setting. The meeting transcript can be the canonical record. I think there's probably some merit in packaging these tertiary meta points of decisions, tasks, and summaries, so that could be useful. Differentiation and moat. I think that the most important thing here is probably going to be the narrow use case, or it's not necessarily a narrow use case, but it's a very specific use case. It's going to have wide adoption, so we're going to be able to scale it really quickly if we focus on opening up a marketplace of connectivity to other applications and really just honing in on this being a productivity assistant that's going to improve meeting um, outputs and on the whole. There's a lot of time wasted on trying to take information from meetings and moving it into production systems. So we want to try to cut that down. And as certainly as we have more agents who are responsible for executing some of these tasks, we're going to be able to speed that up as well, as long as those things are also integrated into our workflows. I think the novelty of this will be ultimately what gives it longevity of value. First to market's certainly going to be a factor in it too. So we're going to have to go for a big splash, and hopefully um, talking about this now and codifying it in a recording and all that can help us protect the IP as we build it. Do I want to retain structured learning across meetings? That's interesting. I think that there's a lot of value in being able to do that. Maybe there needs to be, yeah, I think certainly a relational database that allows for connectivity between decisions, tasks, pattern identification could be part of it. And then, yeah, I mean, if it's a productivity tool, why not have metrics? Those can be later stage development items. Roles and permissions. We'll kind of go with the standard makeup there. I'm not going to get too granular with that. We can work on the details for that a little bit later on down the road. For now, we need to have admin and demo ability. Integration and marketplace. I think that this is going to be a later development item, but from a marketing perspective, we can certainly incorporate it into the landing page as a coming soon feature. AI architecture and control. So we'll use the built-in Lovable cloud and AI functionality for that. I think it uses Gemini 2.5. Um, as far as memory goes, um, we want to be efficient with how we leverage compute for that, but it's definitely good to have um, continuity across meetings because it's going to make it a better assistant, a better participant, a better collaborator. I think definitely users should be able to delete scope or memory easily. I think as it pertains to any given meeting, it would also make sense to be able to um, narrow or broaden the scope of the AI. So if there's different teams that use it, maybe some of those external teams or, tertiary teams don't necessarily have as much bearing on the meeting. So we leave those out and really focus the compute on areas that matter for the meeting. I don't want AI to explain too much about why it did something. I think there could be maybe a threshold for that that gets set by the user. But ultimately, we want it to more or less be like a human participant in the meetings. Audit logging can be further down the road in the roadmap. Pricing and revenue. Um, Generally speaking, I think that You're going to have different tiers with different features. You're going to have individual users that want to use this, perhaps just as a collaborator for one-on-one or small teams. You're going to want to have, certainly enterprise level features and security, all that stuff. So that'll take time to build out, and you'll have to get SOC2 certified and all that fun stuff. But all of that definitely matters, and it costs money to do that. So you charge more for the licenses. In any event, there's probably going to be a combination of per seat plus compute pricing that is tracking with the actual compute costs so that it is controlled. Um, and certainly with some small margin there too for additional revenue per execution. Let's see. Yeah, I think we'll keep it simple to begin with. We don't need to overcomplicate it. I think the folks who are going to be using this are small teams and large teams. I think that you could certainly find cases where consultants might leverage it for meetings with clients. I think that could be an interesting use case, and certainly narrowing and broadening the scope would be useful. I think that there needs to be a trial, no free tiers, just enough to get folks the opportunity to experience the software, to see what its value could be for their life or business. Um, yes, we definitely need to make sure that we're capturing the location of the user. Um, Likely needing to turn on location data to get this right because certain states prevent recording without consent. So sometimes consent from one party, like in Virginia, is acceptable, but in some states, two-party consent is required. So if in a state where two-party consent is required, we want to make sure that that is inside of the software, and it would be a verbal warning at the beginning of use. All right. So um, that was perhaps close to 10 minutes to get through all of those questions. I didn't even answer all of them. So you can kind of see how there's a lot here. And I'm going to push this up and let it give me an output here. But there's a lot there. And while it does this work, I want to just talk about some of the things that really matter and some advice that I've heard from some others. And I'll have to find the person that I originally heard this from, but a couple of things that are really key. You want to get the design, kind of requirements in there early. You want to get the requirements for authorized users in there early, and you want to get payment requirements in there early because those things are really part and parcel to the functionality of the entire application. And if you don't do those things early, it's going to set you back when you need to integrate them. So we have, I think, a lot of great information here. And what I'm going to do ultimately is um, have it give me one more output. And I'll tell you what that's going to be when I talk to it here in just a second. But I will copy all of these different things and paste them into Lovable to give us what we want. It's going to take a little bit to build this too, so we'll have some time to wait and chat. Go ahead and turn this around as a output that I can paste into Lovable. I will be sharing my previous dialogue and this framing. So ultimately, just give me a succinct and extensive build plan that we can lean on that has total coverage. One thing that's going to be important to note is I will be adding a product roadmap into this product at a very early stage. So after we do this first build, so that we can start to manage the latter build steps. So one thing you guys might not be able to see here. Let me move my camera down. Wearing this cool AI Ready RVA T-shirt. If you guys are in the Richmond region, go over to aireadyrva.com and check out what we're doing over there. We're just launched a new website this week. You can actually see that inside of um, my website, my studio website, and just launched that site. It's got some really awesome features. It's probably the best lovable build that I have ever done, and it's just a ton of stuff over there to check out. Oh, actually, you know what? While we're Let me paste these things in here. Let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and get this output. What I'm going to do is let me scroll all the way back up to my first transcript. One thing I will tell you guys about using voice transcripts is if they are 6 minutes long and you lose your internet connection or you switch internet connections, it can be a disaster. So I have been using voice memos a little bit more than I have been using um, transcriptions here. But ultimately, I have been pretty happy with that voice transcription. It's just I've lost too many of them, and it's kind of made me a little crazy. I'm writing a book and using voice transcription to get my stories out, and I've had too many stories that I've lost, and I've frustrated me, and I've stopped working on the book. So, um, so what I just pasted was my initial verbalization that you guys heard, um, and the sort of the output that came after that, as well as the final build. So I might have, I can't remember actually exactly what I pasted in here now that I was talking to you guys, but we'll go ahead and let this build up. And while I do that, we'll go check out AI Ready RVA. So a few things that are cool about this site. This is all done with Lovable. It's, Lovable is a TypeScript React foundation. Uh, Great library of things to build off of here. But a lot of just little fun things. So one thing you'll notice as you look at the site is there's little kind of color rivers and different, just fun little effects that are, um, they take time to do if you're coding as a person. They do really elevate the experience. So you can see this little guy's spinning around right here. We've got our accessibility features are native inside the application, so that's built in. We have live chat built in along with feedback item here. And we've actually had people using that, which is great. The chatbot is also really nice because you can you can book events right from within inside of that. I need to test that because we built this a little bit a while ago, and I don't know how much that's been tested since we've launched this thing. But that's one of the sort of the pitfalls you could say of building a lot of features into an application is that you're going to find that there's a lot of maintenance to do to make sure it all stitches together on the front end and the back end and all that fun stuff. So you can see here that AI Ready RV is actually one of the leading AI communities in the United States. Richmond's a leading AI jobs city, actually, in the United States as well. So we've got a lot of cool stuff going on here in Richmond. So if you're tuning in from the outside world, come take a look at all the folks who are making all this stuff happen. Our board of directors is in here. Give everybody a little bit of FaceTime. Pop back over here to see where we're at. We're still building. This can take 10 minutes sometimes, depending on how much it is that you're putting in there. We have the R prize. Here's one of those little fun effects. You can see the color river on the $100,000 prize right there. Um, we'll get into the R prize here in a minute. I wanted to pop down here. Built this cool little integrated news and insights area. Jason McGinty is our podcast host, and you can see here that this podcast is an in website player that persists. So if I were to click into one of these other articles, I can continue to listen to this article and or podcast while reading some of these other things. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's built into this. And let me get back to where I was in this whole thing. So really, what I'm emphasizing here is all the things that we really wanted to build, we were able to build, and that's just been a ton of fun. So we have more things in the pipeline, and I'll show you the guys the pipeline here in a minute. But we're going to build that pipeline or product roadmap into this other product that we're building. And I actually have a foundational build plan for that I'm going to make available to people because I think it's one of the best ways to accelerate development, and certainly in a collaborative environment, being able to work with multiple people on a project is a great way to accelerate the pace of things. So we'll show you how we speed things up in the development of these applications so you can do the same thing for yourself. But let me pop in here to the R Prize and show you what we're doing this year. So a couple of things that I'll show you about this page is we have this cool picture-in-picture sort of feature. This is a YouTube embed, and some of you might know if you're developers, sometimes hard to get these controls to work properly in these smaller screens. So we've created some of our custom controls. So I'll unmute that for a minute. And of course, in addition to mute, we have a pause function that is built in and a close function, so we can get that out of there if we don't want to see it. And as we kind of go through this page, we've got all this wired up, so we can get people to come in here and take action right from this page. We can take sponsorship right from this page. I don't know that anybody's going to pay with a credit card, but we actually have the ability to do bank payments with this. So all that stuff is possible for your application. Going down here, we need to get some sponsors, guys. It's going to take some money to make this thing happen. Yeah, a lot of people working on this too. I can't begin to tell you. AI Ready RVA is just a phenomenal organization with people coming out of the woodwork from all over the place to help us connect and build and do all kinds of wonderful things. So come check out the R Prize. You can also see about our Power of Possibility event that's coming up here in, let's see, a couple months now, April 1. So yeah, we got a couple months still to go. This sells out, so make sure you get your tickets while they're still cheap. We have some discounted tickets available. Those will get more expensive as time goes on. We haven't announced our speakers yet, but that's coming here in a couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that. We've got some great folks lined up in the conversation. You can get your tickets right here on the website. I also want to make sure that you guys see that we are accepting members. So you can sign up to become a member right here on the website. Subscriber members are starting at $15 a month, and you get access to all of our cohort events for free. Those do also sell out, so just be mindful of that. We have 10 cohorts right now, and you can see all of the events that are lined up here in Richmond in the AI front. We've got some really cool things going on for different industry groups. We've got a really powerful Women in AI cohort that we'll get the next one on once we lock that date in. So a lot of really good things happening here, and just a cool site for you to browse. Everything you see here is native to the application, and we've got a good back end here where we can see tickets and transactions and membership details and all that fun stuff. So this is a full management application that runs AI Ready RVA. All right. So we have our initial build, and I don't mind the name. It's probably not going to stick, but we'll let it ride for the time being. I kind of like the design that it's showing us here. I like the way that they're presenting the case. There's going to be a lot of refinement that goes into this. But the starting place is always getting that first look out. And honestly, with Lovable, there's really both parts to a build. There's the business part, and then there's the development part. And so one of the things that I'll find is that being mindful of what the front end of the website says can often influence what gets developed, especially if you tell it to read the marketing content and um, you know do um, do what it says there and get that outcome. But yeah, I think the other way around too is making sure that you articulate what you're looking for as best you can so that it can get into the product roadmap and everything else. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing here on the screen, and then we will take the next step. So we could do is we could start building this thing out. We could make it um, super awesome right now and really get all these features built into this. And I might go longer than an hour today so that we can get a little bit more done. But what I want to do is not read through all this stuff because what I said I was going to do is I was going to go and get my my build for this. Let's see where I'm going to find it here. Here we go. So I have these work plans, these lovable work plans, and it looks like I might not have the file that I'm looking for committed here, so I'll have to dig it up. But I do have it in another build, so let me go get that really quickly so that I can just paste it in here. So one of the things that I find to be useful with Lovable is if you have something that's really detailed and articulate, you kind of want to have uh, a file that stores the plan for that. And so I did that earlier today and created this roadmap replication guide. And we're actually going to just copy this whole guide and paste it into our application. I'm just going to say, please build our product roadmap. And we will just go ahead and let this go. So one of the things that Lovable does well is if you have not a lot of details in your request, chat mode can be a great way to collaborate with Lovable and kind of discuss what you want to do. I choose to do it inside of ChatGPT first, just because I will often come back to this chat window to pick up the conversation whenever I want to do something that's a little bit further down the road, but maybe I'm not happy with Lovable's build and I'm not really vibing with it, so to speak. So I'll keep that going and we'll come back to that later. I might roll this up into a project one day if I feel like we're going to really take this far. And here we go. It's asking me to enable cloud. So this does have some cost associated with it. Obviously, the more you use, the more it's going to cost. But you need a database where you're going to store all this data and you're going to need to access large language models to be able to effectively produce the outcome that you want. So we're going to allow that to happen. You can check out Lovable's website to learn more about uh, pricing for that, but I have personally found it to be fairly reasonable so long as the software is working. There are times that it is stubborn and um, you kind of tussle with it a little bit. But I'll talk to you guys about some things as we go through and do this. I'm going to build this product roadmap, and I can guarantee you that one of the things that I asked for is going to be missed because it just happens that way. We're doing a multi-phase build, so 4 phases here. Each of those phases has components that need to be built. It's going to have functions that need to be built. It's going to have database tables that need to be built. Obviously, it's talking about a storage bucket here for those files. So all this stuff is going to happen pretty quickly, but I can almost guarantee that it's not going to work whenever I first load it up. The other thing that I can tell you is that since we just enabled cloud, I don't yet have an authorization. I don't actually have an account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a free trial for myself because I need to get a user account in here to access the admin features once they are there. And one of the things that you also learn is that if you try to interact with these forms, and the computer resets, then you can get stuck on that refresh, and that can be annoying. So, yeah, this isn't looped in yet. So, we're going to have to make sure that all that stuff happens. I do use resend for my emails. I'll get that key in later. We don't need it right away, but it is thinking. And let's see, let me get back into the home page and see what we've got here. So there's no roadmap anywhere, so I can't obviously access that. I did put a link down here, but it's not looped in. So um, let's see where we're at. Let's see, just finish the roadmap. I don't know why sometimes I type into this thing and sometimes I talk to it, but maybe shorter things I sometimes will just type because I know it won't take that long. And while it's doing that, I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and talk to this thing. I noticed that we haven't looped in the authorization functionality yet. I can't create an account to be able to give myself admin access so that we can see the roadmap when it's done. Let's go ahead and make that happen. So now let me talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. So the roadmap is a great way for teams to collaborate. And so the roadmap can be a repository of tasks that need to be done to finish the project. But there's two reasons to do this. One, you can prompt Lovable every time you want to tell it to do something. And you can take these sort of tiny incremental steps, or you can kind of give it these batches of work to complete. And the other thing is perhaps you have this idea that you want to get into the system, but you don't necessarily have it all the way thought through, or you need to give it more details, and it's not you just don't have the time to do it. So the roadmap's a great place to just kind of be a holding place for ideas, and from a product management perspective, it's good to have visibility of what's coming up and what the product should look like when it's done, and where things are. So that has been a really helpful tool for me. But then the other part, side of that is we also can leverage the product roadmap to be able to have faster development sprints. So I can actually interact with the roadmap that's inside the application with the Lovable chat window. So once we have the roadmap done, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm impatient, so I'm going to sit here and see what it's doing. Looks like it's building a lot of stuff. I do want it to build a lot of stuff, so that's good. I will make this repo available to everybody. I'll have to figure out how to get it into a place for you guys, but in any event, I'll make sure that you have that roadmap build plan so that you can incorporate it into your products. While I wait for that to happen, I'm going to pop back over here to my repo, or my studio rather, and just show you some of the things that I have been working on. So Exponent 21, my marketing agency, is in the space of optimizing brands for AI. So we do a lot of different things. We have a lot of different products that we've built that are designed to help us in different ways. Discover AIO is our platform for training people on how to do the same work, how to start an agency, how to optimize websites and brands for AI visibility, how to grow rapidly using these new strategies. We have Carl, which is a management platform for AI SEO professionals and agencies, in-house marketing teams. This is in development now, but we are using it. We are working with our existing clients on that. We have a profit sharing dashboard that we've built to be able to share in our prosperity with our team. We've been just celebrated our 10th year, and we're excited to be able to introduce this new benefit to our team members. And we have Richmond Water, which is a used to be a consumer brand, but a consumer facing water brand. Let me see if I have a bottle in here that I can show you. I may not. But in any event, the bottle project didn't really work out. It was a lot of logistical lift, but we did actually build out a management platform for our refill stations, which we do rent out in the summertime. This keeps track of our inventory, and it also helps us know when we need to change our filters. It sends sustainability reports to our event organizers and clients, and it's just kind of an interesting way for us to manage a business that doesn't necessarily have a staff or a lot of resources devoted to it. So let's see, we're still working on the roadmap. It looks like it's building up the main component. So we'll let it continue on there, and I'll tell you a little bit about more of these things. Story Tracks is brand new. This is built yesterday. This is still in the early phase of development, but it is functioning. And essentially, what this is doing is it's enabling regions to collaborate on messaging so that they can more effectively tell a story and optimize their own website, their own region for AI inclusion. So, kind of a higher level than just business planning. Agent Workroom is a pretty cool application. This is pretty early phase, but this allows you to create conversations between experts to help work on a particular problem. So, um, kind of an interesting way to think through different perspectives. And we actually have some interactive capabilities with this. This is kind of the precursor for what we're building here with, we're going to call it Lavalier for the time being. I'm sure that's not going to stick, but we won't be able to get that domain. And there's probably somebody else named Lavalier that we're not aware of because we haven't done that research yet. But my point now is not to build a full brand, but to build a functioning application that can be a brand. I'm going to go ahead and get this authorization functionality turned on. You'll notice I don't read a lot of the things that are coming up in the chat window because I scan things a bit more than I read, and a lot of times I kind of know what I want it to do. So I've a bit more experienced at this. According to Lovable, I was in the top 1% of coders using their platform last year, so that was pretty cool. Um, didn't do it for the fame, certainly just trying to make some things happen over here, having fun. All right, let's see if I can't scope out some other things with you guys in the last 15 minutes that we've got here. Bank Wealth is an interesting application. This is kind of a big deal. Super excited about this. This is an AI powered coach to help folks grow their wealth, grow their generational wealth. It's not a financial planning application. It's a little bit different. I'll let you take a look at that on your own time. But that one is one that we're going to be focusing on big time. This year is we're kind of at this cusp. AI has the potential to do a whole lot for us. It has the ability to be an assistant, but it can help us build, as I'm showing you guys here today. And it can help us build, in the short term, but also over time. And strategy is an element of that that's required for success. And so we want to build some things that really help people change their lives and have a more prosperous and enjoyable future. So that's what I am doing this year. You can also check out the About page here and see what we are working on. I will have a referral program coming up here very soon where you can earn a finder's fee for sending folks our way for the various things that we have in this repository. And I'll chronicle the journey. So you'll learn just through our Twitch as well as everything that I put in here as we go. I'll be opening up a new studio here in a few weeks. So you'll see me in a new place. And I'm super excited about that too. So we'll share more about that a little bit more in the future. But let's see, what do I want to tell you? I don't have a subscribe button on this website. That's going to be something that I actually work on right now. So One of the things that I will do oftentimes is, so this is finished now. So let me go ahead and just make sure that I can create an account and do that. And then we're going to do some more. I'm going to go deal with the barking dog real quick. And I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back at it. So I have access. Okay, so now what I did, I created an account for myself. I still need to give myself admin access. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Give me admin access. I could tell it that I created an account and being more explicit there, but it's funny. I'm seeing some dummy stuff in here, and this is not unusual to be at this stage and seeing these sort of placeholders. Talking about an infinite recursion error in the RLS policies, so some conflicts that are preventing me from seeing things. Looks to me like we have some of the build here already done, which is kind of cool from a user interface experience. Um, there's still going to be a lot more that we have to do. Again, obviously, all the stuff is placeholders. So, okay, I'm going to refresh this to see if I actually have admin access, which if I did, I would have, actually, I know what it is. I just need to get into, nope, that's not going to work. Let's see, do I have product roadmap? Okay, let's go ahead and build an admin dashboard that has an app sidebar that gives us management tools over this application. We're going to need to be able to manage the subscription options and lots of different things. So let's go ahead and get that wrapped up. So what I want to do now is kind of give myself a little bit more ease in navigating the application. So I'm going to give myself a sidebar where I can actually manage things and I don't have to navigate to it from up here. I'm also going to give myself a hamburger menu over here on the right that can get me back into the front end of the website as well as the switching back and forth pretty easily. So we'll get that going here in a minute. But in any event, the next thing that I'm going to do is, let me get into the roadmap here. I'm actually going to not do a lot of manual adding. So the roadmap's still not done. I can tell because we have an error there. So we'll fix that here in a minute. But ultimately, I'm not actually going to add items myself. I'm going to have Lovable add the items for me. And we'll start to build up the details on those items as time passes. If we had other people working with us, we would certainly be using some manual ads and dialogue a little bit more. But right now, it's just me. So more than anything, I'm looking to document what it is that we're building so that should I decide to sell this to somebody else or pass it off, it's got a sound future and can be managed by another team if need be. That's certainly one of the motivations for me. The other motivation is I don't have the time to actually take this all the way to maturity myself. I'm going to need to rely on my team if we do build it in house. And so um, that roadmap is really important for being able to track with the project and stay coherent about what you're building, why you're building it, what the priorities are, when things are going to be built. That's incredibly important from a project management standpoint to actually be getting productive activities done and being able to share responsibilities with different team members. Generally speaking, I find that if you're going to do a multi-person team, you generally want to have one or two people inside of the Lovable dashboard. Generally speaking, that's going to be designer, developer. Um, but you also could potentially have a tester who's working to check on the things that are inside the system. Often I find that the best testers will be the users who are going to be requesting features and leveraging the tool at the end of the day to be able to get done what they need to get done. So that's the gist there. I'm going to do a quick recording here. Hang on one second. I want to add a hamburger menu on the top bar that persists from the front end to the back end so that I can quickly toggle between front and back end views uh, and dashboard views for customers. And let's see, add item to the roadmap is giving an error. So one thing I'll let you know, I don't shy away from giving it a couple of tasks at a time. They don't necessarily need to be related. Um, it does a pretty good job at parsing all that out. This is going to be done pretty soon. It's not performing quite as I'm requesting because admin's just forwarding to the dashboard instead of actually giving me an admin view. And the roadmap doesn't have a sidebar on it. So I'm going to have to be more explicit about this here in a minute, but let me get the menu fixed up here so that I can actually see what we have and what we don't have. All right, so let's go into my website here and we're going to request, I want to add a subscription option to this website so that people can be notified about things that are happening. And we'll work on putting in some newsletter functionality a little bit later so that we can automate some communications. I'm not going to have time to talk to people on a manual basis, so we're going to have to track our progress through the studio and leverage some of the things that are happening in here to serve as triggers for that. But for now, I just want to be able to capture people's names and email addresses so that we can tell them what's going on in the world. And I guess we might as well go ahead and build out the referral program as well so that we can have people be able to share these applications with others and have that tied to their user, maybe not user account, but if they want to track their referral progress, yeah, to their user account. Let's go ahead and build it all out. Let's make a plan. Okay, so that one was a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to let Lovable make a plan before we do the build so that I can correct anything that I see that I don't like. But I'll go ahead and push that up there and come back to what we were building here. Still working, still working. And we'll just ask ChatGPT, what are some interesting brand names that we might think about for this? Could be a couple of words. Needs to have a domain available, something that's rather unique, but still perhaps a little bit indicative of what the application is. Give me some ideas. All right, we'll let that play out and we'll come back to it in a minute. one of the things that I'm doing here is just looking for specificity. I want to have it think through the business case a little bit more. Um, this is using my Lovable link, so I want to make sure it knows to use studio.littlemelton.com, not the Lovable link. I like to keep things on brand. It's kind of like having a business with a Gmail address. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Kind of unprofessional, in my opinion. Okay. I'm going to let this ride. I'd rather see what it's building. I'm going to let it go, though, with the plan that it has, and I'm going to go ahead and push this. I do need to review these security errors. I'll do that on a future build with you guys, but there's going to be some tables that need to get some RLS policies attached to them to make sure that the data that gets submitted is sound and not getting leaked out there on the internet. So before I push this latest subscription function up, we're going to make sure that we do that. Okay. Um, we have a global hamburger menu over here. This isn't what I wanted, but it's going to work for the time being. I have a dashboard. I have an admin overview that doesn't take me anywhere. I have a roadmap that does take me someplace. This will work for the time being. What I'm going to do now is show you how I'm going to use the roadmap. And we are going to run past 2 o'clock here. All right. What I want to do is consider the original instructions for this build and what we have built already and create a product. I want to populate the product roadmap with anything that we have not yet done. I want to articulate as much of the plan as possible in those roadmap items so that we can comment on them. I want you to set the priorities based on a logical, efficient build sequence. Don't build anything that can't be built till something else is built for efficiency's sake. And we want to yeah, set priorities, put things in, the different statuses based on kind of how much we know about them. If there's something that we need a little bit more information about to be able to build it really well, let's go ahead and ask for that information. You have permission to append comments on these roadmap items so that if there is more information that's needed, you can tell us. What I want to do is set it so that everything that is in progress is going to be the very first phase that we develop on, so the highest order of magnitude. Anything that's in planning is something that we need more detail on, so it's going to have some planning done. Plan means that it's going to come up eventually. Next sprint is going to come after in progress. And before we execute on any tasks, or after we execute on tasks, we're going to move them to in review so they can be checked by a human. And
It's 2 o'clock.
we have info needed now, so that's interesting. That's a new feature for me in all of my roadmaps that I've built. So we'll use that instead of what I told you earlier. So let's go ahead and first map out the plan inside of this, and then we'll add it to the roadmap next. So we'll turn on chat for this to be able to get a really thorough, detailed output. Um, this is one of the things I like about Lovable is it gives us some recommendations for things to do next. And you're starting to think about things like meeting room. Okay, that's a place inside the application, and we can think about strategically how we use that and how I'm going to separate the meeting room from everything else that's in this application sidebar. But I'm going to push that and let that plan come out on the other side. We're going to take a look at where we're at over here. It looks like we're still building out that subscription system. Like I said, I'll make sure that you guys get access to this roadmap duplication replication guide. We'll put it into the repo for you. All right. We'll let a few things right out here, but just to give you guys a heads up, next event that we have on the calendar is our product and AI cohort. I'm going to be going to this. We already have 68 people registered, but our host is CoStar. They have a fairly large facility, so we're going to be able to accommodate a large group of people there. So definitely get your tickets to that if you're in the Richmond region. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'll be hanging out with you guys at that event. So definitely pop in there and have some fun. You can see who else has signed up. We've got a large group of folks. All right. Yes, I'm very much a multitasker, but only when I'm sitting still. If I'm working on something, I can do one thing at a time. But if I am waiting, I'm impatient. So I'm going to pop around to different screens. It can bite me in the butt sometimes, but generally speaking, I tend to get a good bit done. And mostly what I'm looking for here is that it is being thorough. And as I scan through this, looking to see things that I expect to see, as well as not things that don't make any sense. If I see something that doesn't make sense, I will correct it. I have found sometimes I scan these things too fast and it builds stuff that I don't necessarily want, which can be a challenge in and of itself. But yeah, I favor speed over accuracy for these first phases because I want to be able to see as much of it as possible and know, when talking to others, collaborating with others, when thinking about how something could potentially be working, I want to know what people think. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about these applications is, this is going to potentially get to a point of maturity where we're going to have to move it to a different place. But I have found that Lovable does provide a lot of infrastructure to be able to have mature applications online, and they offer different levels of server performance so that you can really have a high production application on their servers. So security and all the rest. But let's see what we have. There's some cool ideas here. Um, I'm going to go open up GoDaddy and see if we might have some interesting options available to us. Roundtable.ai is taken, so we will skip that one. I can tell you for a fact that roundtable.com is taken, so that's not going to work for us. Let's see. Gatherly. Crazy about that one. No offense to Gather, our local co working giant, but let's see what else we have. I doubt that a tune is going to be available, but we can try it. No, that's taken. Yes, people are either taking these things, just buying them up, or they actually have something going on there. Uh, okay, cool. Here we are. You can see what we've got in here. We have the ability to upload uh, images. That does work. We can capture screenshots. We can view comments. I can't leave a note right here on the card. That's one thing that I want to be able to do without clicking in the edit. And I can also tell that it took away my really awesome quick features that I actually saw earlier. So I should be able to change the status of these uh, without clicking on that. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I need to be able to leave comments. Oh, wait, I can't post a comment here. I don't have the ability to do voice to text transcriptions in these comment boxes or in the, I do see it in the description, but not in the comment box. The other thing that I'm not seeing is I do want the comments to open up whenever you expand the cards. So I don't want to have to click a second button. And the quick options in the menu here are all gone from the previous build, I guess. But I need to be able to change the status of these items right from the drop down of the cards. Okay, so back to Twitch, you guys. I'm getting close to rest point here for the day. But I'm going to go a little bit further here and just tell you what I'm going to do next. So after this works out and we have what we need here, a lot of these management utilities are really going to be for the granular QA level things. So you can kind of see what you're going to be working on. I don't particularly care about the quarter 1 2025 stuff. I mean, sometimes that can be helpful if you're really going to be mapping out a product roadmap, which makes a lot of sense unless you have a lot of time to devote these things or get really fast yourself. It takes some time to do it. But what I'm going to do is actually talk to Lovable and interact with Lovable for the most part around the rest of the build. And I'm going to ask it to ask me questions about the roadmap items that we don't have clarity on yet, that we need to have more details added to, and ask it to go ahead and write those details to the database so that we can come back and reorganize the work and populate Lovable with a sprint. So what I will do is I will say, Lovable, go ahead and work on all of the in progress roadmap items. And when you're done, please move them to in review so that we can check them over. And if there's any important details, go ahead and add a comment. So that is going to help us to be able to be a good collaborator with Lovable on this build. And you can see how having visibility of where things are in this build is going to be helpful for you as you think through proper product management there. So what we did not get to today is being able to see what the actual finished product looks like or how that works. Certainly we can see some of these things working, and but I don't believe that we have the ability to be listening. So right now it says it's listening, but I can promise you that it's not because I haven't been asked to share my microphone. So there's definitely just a shell in place right now, and these are dummy entries. That's not uncommon to see when you first build it because it helps you to understand again, is this what you want? Is there something missing? Do you need to do something else to make this really good? And, this is something I've been thinking about for a little while now, quite some time. Ever since I taught a workshop on collaborating with AI in teams for Leadership Metro Richmond back last year, 2025, and somebody exclaimed after the session was over that they had collaborated in teams and they had collaborated with AI, but they had never collaborated with AI in a team meeting. And they said that that was really profound, and there was a lot of good stuff that came out of it. So I thought, how do we actually deliver that kind of value to people through something like this? I just haven't had time to build it, and I needed something to build today for you guys, so that's what we did. Still some work to go here, and I'm going to pop back into the roadmap to see if I got what I asked for. It looks like it did give me what I asked for. I still want to test some of these things. I find sometimes that the upload and capture doesn't necessarily work exactly the way that it should. And then it did some extra work here for us, but I'm not going to hate on it here. It's not terrible. I think it's actually maybe a little bit easier to manage if we can see some of these quick options with the color coordination there. Cool. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I am going to go and take a break, but we'll come back at this. Right now, I've got a schedule set for 1 p.m. on Saturdays. I know next Saturday we have an AI Ready RVA board meeting, so I'm not going to be here for that. But we will pick back up at some point. I might even pick back up tomorrow to do a little bit more work on this, so I'll get it on the schedule if that's the case. But follow me on Twitch. It's Will, Will, Melton, Melton. If you're tuning in on Twitch, follow me on LinkedIn, Will Melton. Pretty easy to find. And if you guys haven't popped over yet to studio.willmelton.com, you can see all the things that I've built since last year, things that are in progress. We will go ahead and add this when we come up with a name for it. We'll add the new application to this studio as well. So I'm going to sign off here, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you again here very soon.